An uprising is brewing amongst the Damned, and your soul's fate has yet to be judged. Join the immortal rebellion, rise up against final judgment, and seek out eternal life. My name is Kodiak, this is Legacy Gaming, and after going hands-on during an early preview event for 33 Immortals, it's safe to say this game needs to be on your radar. If you haven't heard of 33 Immortals, let me give you a quick rundown on exactly what it is. Inspired by Dante's Divine Comedy, this 33-player co-op action roguelike has you playing one of many damned souls rebelling against God's final judgment. The content is essentially a distillation of the MMO raid experience, where you fight through hordes of enemies and mini-bosses before going up against an extremely powerful boss with complete raid-like mechanics. Matchmaking is lightning fast, runs can last anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, and each time you play, enemies, challenges, and rewards are all randomized. The only thing consistent is the weapon you choose to bring in with you and the upgrades you make to your character after dozens and dozens of runs. The game is similar to something like Hades, but far more dependent on teamwork and communication to truly push into the game's higher tier of content, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Everything starts and ends in the Dark Woods. This is the staging ground for you and other players. It's here you'll find and earn access to all of the game's long-term roguelike progression systems through the various NPCs. Arguably, the most important NPC in the Dark Woods is Beatrice, since she grants you access to feats. These are your primary long-term progression goals, and each one you complete grants you a certain number of points that contribute to your overall feat level. As that level increases, you unlock entirely new gameplay features, systems, and even bonuses to your character, but it requires you to really understand these to know what you need to achieve during each run for maximum gain. Completing feats also grants you rewards, often in the form of permanent stat bonuses for things like health, damage, and even damage resistance, allowing you to push further, faster in every run. Additionally, completing major feats will culminate in you earning 14 stars that will unlock the Crown of Immortality, a key item that lets you access the game's true ending. Another important NPC in the Dark Woods is Dante, who grants you access to perks, powerful passives that can be found and unlocked during your runs. Some of these perks greatly increase specific stats, or boost resource drop rates, and others still amplify status effects, but there are plenty more. These can supercharge specific builds and enable individual weapons and relics in ways not possible otherwise. You can even upgrade these perks, which gets more costly over time, but truly amplifies their power. There's also Relic Collection. This is mostly here to display what relics you've managed to find and use during your various runs, and these can range from common to legendary, granting you massive passive bonuses or augments to your character, and are really the only way to truly prepare for the game's massive boss fights. Once you hit feat level 6, you'll gain access to another system called Wishing. During our preview, we didn't have enough time to reach level 6, so we aren't entirely sure what the system does, but we can only assume it's tied to relics appearing more often during a run. Finally, there are the individual weapon shrines, where you can equip your chosen weapon and upgrade them after completing runs and challenges. The Bow of Hope is perfect for more range-minded players. You have a limited number of arrows that one shot anchor themselves to the world. You can then recall them to deal damage to all enemies they pass through and refill your quiver so you can continue firing arrows. You also have a charge shot for your heavy attack that deals significantly more damage and contributes to an enemy's stun meter. The Sword of Justice is for all you quick-thinking, tank-loving players out there. Your attacks are slow, but as you deal damage with light attacks, you build up your Justice resource. You can then use that resource in two different ways. Every time you use your heavy attack, which deals high damage and builds up an enemy stun meter, you'll consume 10 Justice. This makes weaving in light and heavy attacks essential, mainly because of your second use, Guard. While blocking, you consume 20 Justice every second, but if an enemy attacks you while this is up, you will completely negate all damage and execute a counterattack called Gavel Bash that deals heavy damage in a frontal arc. Then there are the Daggers of Greed, which specialize in high mobility, burst damage, and reliable stagger. As you deal damage with either your light attacks or heavy attacks, you'll build up Greed. You can then either tap your right click to perform a moderate leap, or hold it down for a much longer leap. Either way, based on how full your greed meter is, if you land your leap on a target, you'll deal more damage and take down that target, almost always stunning them in the process. Finally, the Staff of Sloth is for players that want to support and control the speed of rushing enemies. Dealing damage with either your light or heavy attacks will build up Sloth. Holding down and using your right-click ability will allow you to cast Torpor in a frontal line AoE that slows enemies' hit for a duration based on how much Sloth is consumed. This weapon can deal serious damage in the right hands, but is invaluable at controlling the flow of enemies against your allies. Overall, each weapon is unique, and there's absolutely value in having a diverse spread of these weapons across your entire team so your group as a whole can handle every type of encounter. Now, when you enter the big portal at the top of the Dark Woods, you're presented with 3 different maps: Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso, each one harder than the previous. The last 2 require single-use keys to access that you can obtain by defeating the final boss in the previous map. We'll be talking about Inferno in this video, the 33-player map that features Lucifer as the final boss. When you spawn into Inferno, you'll be in one of 6 randomized locations. Being alone in this game is asking for a swift death, so finding other souls and teaming up presents you with your best chance at survival, especially because most objectives require multiple players to complete. You can open your world map at any time to see where other players are, what they're currently doing, and if you have a teleport stone, you can fast travel to another player. Your objective in Inferno is to survive, and while doing so, complete as many torture chambers as possible to progress the entire run towards Ascension battles once 12 chambers have been completed. Torture chambers are essentially 6-player miniature dungeons that feature 2 waves of monsters and reward you with a relic chest if completed. If you have a chest key on you, something you can find in the world or purchase from a bone shrine, you can open an additional chest allowing you to receive 2 random relics per chamber. You can have a max of 8 relics equipped at a time, and you can even re-roll what they are when they drop or at any time during your run for an increasing amount of bones to do so. The goal is to complete 6 of these torture chambers before God tries to smite everyone on the map, and shortly after, the remaining 6 will open up. Now, across the map, you'll find enemies everywhere, and farming these for dust is essential. As you do so, your dust meter will fill up, which you can track in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Once full, you'll want to locate a dust shrine and upgrade one of your 3 attributes: Attack, Vitality, or Empathy. Attack increases your overall weapon damage, Vitality increases your maximum health, and Empathy increases the power of your co-op powers and damage of your co-op strikes. Each weapon in the game comes with a unique co-op power. When the meter at the bottom left of your screen is full, you'll need to hold the corresponding button down to lay a pattern on the floor. Depending on the skill, you'll need a specific number of players to each stand in one of the circles and activate the power simultaneously. These can range anywhere from a massive upward volley of high-damaging arrows to a fixed health shield for you and 2 other players. The implementation of these is fantastic and can be absolutely chaotic to pull off at the right time. Hidden throughout the map, you'll also find urns which you can break for bones and eternal shards, chests of varying sizes and rarities, and hidden ancient sigils that can open special closed chambers or reward hidden loot. What we found is that there has to be a balance between clearing chambers, but also taking the time to allow the entire 33-player roster to farm the map and increase their power for the inevitable boss fight. Once all 12 chambers have been completed, it's a mad dash to the Ascension battle location before the Holy Fire consumes you. Each battle can be completed by 11 players and rewards a legendary relic to everyone on the map for each Ascension completed. These are much more chaotic than the chambers, and we've almost always seen at least one player go down during these. If you get knocked out, you can be revived, but your health is going to be restricted to 25% of its original value unless you pay a very expensive long-term resource to remove some of the Shattered Malice effect. The whole loop up to this point feels extremely tight and polished. Players were organically forming groups, helping each other clear objectives and defeat hordes of enemies, and keeping each other safe with their abilities in the process. No matter how many times we started up a run, things were random enough to always catch us off guard in some refreshing way, and I think that's super important for the replayability of this game. Now, once everyone still alive has ascended, those who have died rejoin the group just before the final boss reveals himself. I like that every player gets a chance here, building that sense of instant camaraderie with 32 other strangers with one clear objective: kill the boss. Now, whether you can actually defeat that boss, well, that is another thing entirely. We only got the chance to fight Lucifer a few times, and let me tell you, if you don't have at least 20 plus people remaining, strong knowledge of his mechanics, and are farmed enough to deal with the progressively increasing threat, you will not beat this boss. This is a true raid boss style encounter, and that means wipe mechanics, additional phases, invulnerability windows, and status effects, all of which you have to manage. These fights will push every player to their breaking point, and we honestly found that refreshing. There are breakpoints for the boss's health bar, and for each one you pass, you will get a set of rewards regardless of if you fail or not. Obviously, the best rewards are reserved for those who can actually overcome the challenge, but allowing all players to still gain some progression after investing 30 plus minutes into a run is a really smart way to handle defeat. You'll take all of those rewards and resources back to the Dark Woods to either purchase cosmetics, unlock perks, relics, and weapon upgrades to increase your overall power and give you the opportunity to save a run with revives in future runs. All of this will compound in difficulty the further you go as you tackle Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso, each map focusing on a smaller, more elite session size of players. If you can overcome all of this, completing all of your feats and finalizing your upgrades, you'll gain the crown of immortality from Beatrice, allowing you to discover what they say is the truest ending to the game. All in all, just experiencing 1/3 of the current content as the game enters into early access is enough for us to say the bones of this game are solid. Combat feels engaging and punishing, team play feels organic and essential, and bosses can be a real kick in the teeth in the best way possible. We are hoping to hear of a Steam release date in the future, but for now, you'll be able to check out 33 Immortals in early access on the Epic Game Store, Xbox Series X and S, Windows PC Store, and with Xbox Game Pass for console and PC. Friends, I hope you enjoyed our first impressions and overview of 33 Immortals. If you want more in-depth gaming reviews and guides in your feed, do me a solid, hit that thumbs up, and consider subscribing. My name is Kodiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.